JWT tokens are great to use for authentication because they remove your server-side dependency of storing data, unlike cookies. But there is a problem. I see a lot of applications these days just store JWT tokens in local storage, which is insecure because JavaScript can access your local storage, which means third-party scripts or third-party libraries that you use in your code can also access your JWT token. What is the solution to that? Well, you could store your JWT tokens in cookies. Well, it's not that simple because cookies generally in browser have a limit. This is the RFC spec for cookies, and we don't need to worry about the entire spec. Just under the implementation limits, we can see that all the browsers have to at least allow 4096 bytes per cookie. So we can take that as a minimum limit for every browser, and that's generally what most browsers will set the limit to. Now let me show you a demo that I created. So I have this Node and Express server running on port 8080, and I also have another server running at 9090 to serve these external JS files. We have two endpoints. One is login, which sets the JWT token in the local storage as well as in the cookie. Then we have an access endpoint, which tries to access the local storage and cookies, as well as runs an external script which also tries to access both local storage and cookies. Now this external script is being fetched from a different domain. So I'll be accessing the server running at 8080 via localhost, and this external script via 127.0.0.1, which is the same as localhost, but it changes the domain. So now once I log in, you see that there is an access token in local storage and in cookies. Now when I try to access these, you can see that the external script can access the token as well as the internal script can access the token if it is stored in the local storage. But neither the internal or the external script can access the cookies. Why is that? That's because when setting the cookie, we are setting a property of HTTP only. That means that the cookies will only be sent with HTTP request as headers and not be accessible by JavaScript. We also have another flag called same site strict, which tells the browser that it should only send these cookies as headers to same site, which just means that the domain should be similar. Now, if you see in the network request, the access endpoint, which is a request going to our same domain localhost, has a cookie of our access token, but the external JS that we are loading via a different domain does not have a similar header. Now I can show you this in action, that if I change the domain to localhost here and refresh the page, now that cookie is being sent to external JS as well. If I turn it back, again there is no cookie. So storing our JWT tokens in cookies can help us secure our applications a lot more. But the problem with that is that cookies do have a limit, and if you store a lot of data in JWTs, then you might run out of that limit in certain browsers. What you can do for that is you can only store the refresh token inside cookies, which does not need to have all of the data, and you can store the access tokens inside local storage. Now the access tokens will have a very low limit of 5 minutes or 10 minutes, which means that now your application is a lot more secure.